Hello everybody. My name is Riyad. I'm the president for the Business Club. Today I would like to thank our members for the Business Club for their hard work and for everything that they did. I would also like to thank Professor James Snooks for his hard work, and they always give us some of his time. And finally, I would like to thank Stephenie, who is our speaker for today. She's going to talk about sustainability. The topic for today is sustainability as a good business. So she's going to explain for us how sustainability is a good business and how we as entrepreneurs can get advantage from that and help the world and at the same time making profit. I will go now with Stephenie.
Thank you, Riyad. So I'm a social media wannabe, so I'm doing a little Instagram here to help move my message forward, which is to be the sustainability professional for Moraine Valley Community College. And anytime I'm out and about, I try to promote as much as I can the work that we're doing at the college to be as sustainable as possible, which part of that is coming and doing presentations and talking to people like you so that you can join us on our journey. So thank you so much for having me today. I usually like to walk around. I might hobble around. You might have noticed I came in on crutches. So if I'm stuck behind this podium, I apologize. I try to be as personable as possible. Hopefully it can reach across the podium to you. So I was asked to come and talk to you about sustainability and business. Most of you are business majors or interested in business, yes, in some way. And if you're not a business major or interested in business, do you buy things? You want to buy things, clothing, you need food, these things, right? So you should also care a little bit about business and the way that business works, because as a consumer, you get to help drive how business works, or you can if you choose to. Talk a little bit about that. So I took this graphic from another website, a magazine website that was interviewing somebody about sustainable business, and they talked about this whole concept called the triple bottom line, which we're going to talk about a little bit, but I just want to due diligence, disclaimer, that's not my image, but I do like it. So it says, doing well by doing good. Sustainability as good business. And that's what the title of this program was, and I thought, wow, how serendipitous to find this image, so I stuck it on there. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. And again, my name is Stephenie, and if we have questions, if something is like burning in you right that moment and you're not going to be able to hold it till the end, please feel free to ask, but we'll definitely leave time at the end for questions too, okay? So pop quiz. Ready? It's school, right? We got to have a quiz. What do Arnold Schwarzenegger, Al Gore, Bill Gates, Bono, Walmart, and the Sierra Club all have in common? They have lots of money. What was that? Entrepreneurs, a lot of them, yes. Anyone else? They believe in global warming. Yes, I would think so. They are all champions of sustainability as a critical issue both to business and the world. Okay, so all of them at some level, whether they're doing it 100% or not is left to be questioned, but all of these individuals or organizations are working towards sustainability as a critical issue. Okay? But what is sustainability? Okay, that's a big, giant word that I spend a lot of time helping people understand. It's a complex, multifaceted word. It's two words put together, right? Sustain and ability. But in reality, when we really start to talk about it, it's a huge concept. So I'm going to try and break it down for you, okay? When we talk about green business, or when we talk about going green, we're talking about individual things, like a checklist. You can go green by doing what? Recycling. Very good. Go green by saving water. Very good. So it's a checklist. Like, I saved water today. Check, I went green. Okay? When we talk about sustainability, we're talking about something that's much more inclusive. It's not just this one-off thing and I'm done. My job here is done, right? We talk about sustainability, we're talking about meeting our needs today. This is a very common definition of sustainability. I'm going to unpack it even further for you. But it's about meeting our needs today without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Okay? We all have needs, basic human needs. Clean water, clean air, food, access to health care and education. Do you all agree these are needs? Can you live without them? Not very easily. It's going to be a hard life, right? So how can we do things today without compromising our ability to meet our needs today and those tomorrow? And by us, I don't mean right here in this room. Of course, I do mean us in this room. But I mean them out there and our neighbors to the east and our neighbors to the west, and I mean the globe, everybody on the planet. How can we be behaving so that we can do that? In the world of sustainability, we like to break it into three kind of compartments. They are not isolated, they work in tandem, and they can only work in tandem. We call them equity, economy, and environment. There's other words we're going to look at too for these. What we emphasize is that there is a simultaneous relationship between these three concepts, okay, these three dimensions. There are three systems, if you will. There's the sustainable economy system, and then there's the healthy natural systems, I'm superimposing words, and thriving communities, okay? So economies, business majors are always thinking about economy, the money, right? But what we're going to talk about is how do we look at this simultaneously? Because in a sustainable world, in a world where we're all able to meet our own needs without compromising others' ability to meet their needs, you cannot do it without making sure that these three things are simultaneously in check, in balance. This is a common Venn diagram that's used often to explain sustainability, and it kind of helps you understand these systems. Okay, so individually, these systems, environmental. When we look at environmental, that's where you get environmentalism, right? When people are talking about save the planet, save the whales, okay? Those are great things to think about. But let me tell you something. Mark might want to write this down. The planet doesn't need saving, okay? The planet will be fine without us, okay? So maybe it's us that needs to be paid attention. You know, we need to be sustaining ourselves. The planet was here before us and will be here after us. It doesn't need saving, okay? So when we think about environmentalism, we're still thinking about it from a people perspective. We need clean air and clean water. We can't have those things without a clean and healthy environment. When we talk about environmentalism, we talk about natural resource use, wood to make paper and make clothing and burn, cotton to grow, food and land to grow it on, those kinds of things, okay? So that's the environmental system that we're talking about. When we talk about the social system, we're talking about us, people, okay, and our communities. We're talking about standards of living, talk about education, our communities, our networks that we have, maybe our religious affiliation or the nonprofit group that we volunteer for or whatever it is. And we talk about equal and equitable opportunity when we talk about social systems as healthy systems. When we talk about economics, okay, we're talking about obviously profits and cost savings, economic growth, research and development. That's the kind of system we're talking about there. Now we need all three of these to be working together for one another, for us, okay? And in the middle is where you get sustainability. But if you only take environmental and social, for example, when we start talking about those issues and those systems together, when you put environmental and social together, you get environmental justice. An example of environmental justice is if you are less fortunate, maybe you have less money than others, right? So you are in a neighborhood where rent is cheap or property is cheap because that's all you can afford. Well, in current practice, perhaps it's allowed that there would be a polluting industry in your neighborhood because you're the poor. You can't really fight against it. Property taxes are cheaper there, so that industry is going to be there, right? So you have other challenges. You can't really think about this industry that's polluting you. Well, a very real example of how this was happening right here in our backyard is in Pilsen and Little Village. These are neighborhoods in Chicago, primarily Latino families living there. 2 coal-fired power plants. So coal, what we burn to make energy, were in these neighborhoods. And those were billowing out their smoke, and statistics showed that the population living there had higher asthma rates, Higher cancer rates. These people were sick, okay, sicker than the rest of Chicagoans because of these, linked to the poisons coming out of these plants. So the villages, the Pilsen and Little Village, got together and rose up and said, you know what, we're tired of being sick. We're tired of, having our children with asthma rates, et cetera. Can't go outside and play because it's too dirty. So socially, they built their community. They said to their community and said, hey, community, let's rise up. And environmentally, they went to city council, and they eventually were able to get those power plants shut down. So that's environmental justice. Just because you're poor doesn't mean you should get polluted on, right? And that's what these people said, and they stood up for themselves, and they made it happen. So that's a good example of environmental justice. When we think about social environmental, we also think about natural resource stewardship. We want to have access to our natural areas. Even if you don't like to go out in the woods, research shows that the more surroundings that we have of natural areas, the healthier we are as people. Okay? So building up our social community, our environmental community together, that's how they overlap. When you want to think about environmental and economic, you start thinking about energy efficiency. Okay? So energy efficiency, when we say save energy, most people think, oh, sure, save the planet, save energy, yeah, whatever, okay? No, save energy, save money, right? Save yourself money. Be able to put that money into some more natural energies. Okay, so that's how these things overlap. And then finally, when you get into economic and social, this is where you business people's ears should pick up for sure. We're going to talk about it all together. But when you get into economic and social, you get into, again, that standard of living within social, that community, access to education. Within economics, you need profits and cost savings. How can you do it in a way where whoever's working for you is also has the same standard of living as you do? Okay, or as is culturally acceptable. So then we start talking about business ethics and fair trade and workers' rights, right? I don't think any of us in here would agree that it would be fair for us to be working in a building that at any moment could collapse, okay? That's safety needs, that's workers' rights, but maybe that business owner says, well, it's going to cost me too much money to make the building safe. That's not a healthy economic and social situation. What we're looking for is where does the business owner, where does business operate in a way that it's taking care of its people and its planet, okay? So that's a good segue into the concept of the triple bottom line. But put simply, for sustainability, I told you it was a big, complex thing. We're going to keep hammering through it here. But put simply, practicing it, sustainability is about reducing our ecological footprint, so how we are using the planet's natural resources, while simultaneously improving the quality of life that we value, you and I, for everybody to have a livable society. Okay? Sounds pretty nice, right? Everybody has access to education and water and food. And we know for a fact that right now across the globe, that's not the case. Not everybody has that access. But how can we as business leaders make sure that we're working towards making that happen for everybody, right? Because what kind of world would that be if everybody had that kind of access? It'd be a lot more peaceful and wonderful, I think. So the triple bottom line, I said when business is thinking about the planet and its people. In business, you're going to hear this. If you go off to business school, if you continue to study business here even, you should be hearing about this people, planet, profit. That's how they call sustainability. So, and they still use the Venn diagram, and they still say that it's this simultaneous consideration to business practice, thinking about impact on its people, impact on the environment, and impact on their bottom line. Traditionally, business has operated just on that bottom line, right? How much money can I make, and how fast can I make it, and who do I have to step on to get there, right? Not every business, of course, but traditionally. So again, just to hammer it in there, when we talk about profit, we're talking about costs. You also think about employment and how do you get growth in your business, how do you get economic development going in your community, where's your revenue sources. When you think about the planet, you think about your resources and your consumption. Can you get something from someone else rather than digging it out of the ground? What kind of creative, innovative ways can you be sharing resources? And waste management, land use, and when you think about your people, you think about your employees' welfare and fair trade and charitable contributions, and how can your business emulate this simultaneous balance? That's people, planet, profit. always thinking about them together. When asked, this professor from Dickinson University's School of Business said, the triple bottom line, sure, well really it's all about a well-rounded approach to making your personal, governmental, business decisions that put environmental awareness and social responsibility, okay? Taking care of water resources, land resources, environment, and social responsibility, taking care of your brothers and sisters on par with sound economics. Sound. Take what you need, put it all back, keep the economy going, right? So sustainability, why do we care? How does it impact us? How does one person or community or business have control over regional and global impact? I think that when you start to think about resource distribution, when you start to think about people having and some people having not, that's why we should start to care, right? Some of us maybe come from places that have not, and you're coming for better opportunities, be it 2 doors down or another country from here. Some of us are from the maybe more fortunate side where we have had a lot of things available to us, but now we're thinking about how can we put that back, how can we be productive, and how can we give that back. So this is why we should care and how does it impact us. The way that we have traditionally operated has created us some pretty big messes, okay? You have seen or heard of these disparities of resource distribution. You know, some people not having access to clean water. Right here in America, not having access to really the quality education that we should be having, right? Or food deserts. You know, this idea that some people can't even get food within their own community without driving lots of miles. So these are big social problems that we have, and traditionally our behavior has lent to this, right? We think about climate change, and we think about these other issues that, you know, we're fighting over here in America and abroad. So traditionally, these things have gotten us into trouble. So if we keep doing the same old thing, we're just going to keep going down this path of non-progress, of more conflict. So why does it matter? How does it impact us? Well, it very much impacts us in that way, right? So what can one person do, and how can we impact our community, you know, regionally and globally? There are simple kind of phrases out there to keep you thinking about things like think globally. How is my action going to be? How does it affect globally, but also act locally, right? How can I do things locally? But just another hammering it in there. When it's bearable, equitable, and viable, that's when it's sustainable. So if that's hard to wrap your head around, when it's bearable, it causes no harm. Okay? If you're thinking about a business proposition right now, does it cause harm? Follow it all the way along the chain. Is it going to cause harm anywhere? Is it equitable? Are you treating the people along the lines fairly as you're taking resources that you need? Are you, you know, being resourceful and paying your staff and workers well? Is it equitable? Is it doable? Is it actually reasonable? You know, is it something that should be done? Is it going to be beneficial? Is it going to help? Okay. Research shows that sustainable practices in business are at a tipping point. So a tipping point is where it's about to just go over the edge and everybody's on board, okay? There have been a lot of really great leaders, people who have been working on sustainability and business practices for years and years and years, but now we see more and more businesses rising to the top and saying, yes, sustainability is and should be a part of our strategic operations, okay? So we are seeing more and more companies that are seeing the need for sustainable practices and also deriving financial benefits from it. So not only are they doing it because it's the right thing to do, but they're also doing it because they're seeing a financial reward. And I got the next couple of slides from this report from Sloan, where over 4,000 managers and 113 countries responded. So a pretty nice group of representation there, right? Global representation. Most managers out of the 4,000 said that sustainability strategy is a competitive necessity. So if you're in business, you understand the term competitive, right? So you want your business to be competitive. So it's a competitive necessity. 67% said yes, 55 or to this is over just 1 year's difference of data, so 2010 to 2011. In 2010, 55% said yes. By 2011, 67% said yes. Competitive necessity. Okay? Companies are upping their sustainability commitments, so those that had already been practicing it are even more so looking. So sustainability is a process of continuous improvement. As business people, you might have heard that term as well. You're never done in sustainability. You can always do more. So these companies are saying 68% of them have increased their efforts, and only 2-3% have said they've decreased their sustainability commitments, which you wonder why, right? But we want to be aware of something called greenwashing when we're doing our business strategy plans, okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But I want to give you examples of how some companies are upping their game, okay? Nike and Kimberly-Clark. Are you guys familiar with these businesses? Nike for sure, right? Clothing, shoes. Kimberly-Clark, big paper product kind of company, huge global company as well. Once subjects of blistering criticism. Like just shameful. How could you even be operating in this way, right? Nike was known for its sweatshops, meaning using third world countries and young people and women in really obscene working conditions, working for hours and pennies on the hour. And other human rights issues. But by 2010, the Ethisphere Institute named Nike one of its world's most ethical companies. They'd upped their game. You know why? Because you and I and people like us who really like Nike's products said, we can't buy your product anymore. That's pretty terrible. You can't treat people like that. Okay? That's why. And then Kimberly-Clark used to get criticized for cutting down old growth boreal forests. These are forests that have been on the planet for hundreds of thousands of years, cutting them down to make paper that you're going to throw away in 20 seconds, right? So in 2005 through 2005 and 2009, they were studied, and Dow Jones ranked them as first in the Sustainability World Index for personal products. So they upped their game. Are they perfect? Is Nike still doing things that could be questionable? For sure. Kimberly-Clark, absolutely. But they're upping their game. They're making changes where and when they can. Resource-intensive industries are leading the way. They have the highest direct impact on physical and social environments. Most of the time, their early adoption was because of their long-term licenses to operate, but they've also understood that it's conferred a competitive advantage for them. So when we look at the studies, we see that the most resource-intensive, like automobiles, energy and utilities, consumer projects, conglomerate multi-industries, these types of things, high resource-intensive. And you also see that they have put sustainability permanently on their agenda and find it a necessary resource to be competitive across the board. Okay. External and internal drivers of sustainable business practices, like I mentioned, Nike, we were like, hey, you can't treat people like that, okay? So customers' preference for sustainable products and services, we're asking for it more. We expect it, you know? If you've been in a place recently where you didn't see a recycling bin, maybe it felt a little weird, right? We just expect these things to be there now. So we are definitely the external driver, but sometimes we're not always willing to pay for it, right? So that's also a challenge. So where as business people can you think about how do I recoup the cost on that? How do I still make it a sustainable practice, but what else do I need to be doing to make sure that I'm meeting my bottom line? So again, these pressures, we had customers' preferences the most, and then legislative resource scarcity. We've got companies thinking about where are they going to relocate because water is drying up, because climate change is adding to sea level rises, so now they've got to move. You know, resource scarcity is a big one. Competitors increasing their commitment to sustainability. So these are these external and internal kind of drivers for sustainability. But what I'm trying to hammer home here is that sustainability is good business. it's clear. If these companies, these ones that we know are successful, have been around forever, are changing their ways and acting on it, then we as future business people need to consider that, right? But wait, what is greenwashing? I mentioned that. We don't want to fall victim to this. To greenwash is to mislead consumers regarding your environmental practices or your social practices. How are you taking care of people, et cetera. So to say that something is a green product or your business is green or sustainable when really if you look at it, it's not, that's called greenwashing. So this little cartoon, I don't know if you can see it or not, but this guy's looking at his stocks and he's really grumbly about it. It's not a very good thing. And he says, what we need to turn this around is a well-crafted rumor, right? So a lie. And some companies have done that. They've made us believe that something is better for us, is healthier for us, or safer for us because of their marketing, okay? An example would be bottled water. When we look at bottled water, we have pictures of beautiful mountaintops and things on them that make us think this must have come from a beautiful spring, right? A beautiful mountain somewhere, when in fact it came from the tap next door to the Nestle building or whatever. Most water does come from municipal water, so you might as well just drink it out of the tap because that's where it's coming from. One water bottle company that does actually get their bottled water from a natural resource is Fiji, and very unfortunately, most of the people on that island of Fiji don't actually have access to clean drinking water themselves. So you can't tell me that is certainly not a sustainable practice, right? When we're going and taking a natural resource from others that don't have access to it, putting it in a plastic bottle, shipping it around the world, charging you $3, $4 for it, that's not people, that's not planet, it's certainly not your profit, your economics, right? It's theirs, but not yours. So that would be greenwashing for Fiji to tell you, our water is better for you. Well, sure, it's nice and clean water, it really is. But now it's put in a plastic bottle and it's got all those chemicals in it. And we just discussed how they're not treating the people very fairly. So other examples of greenwashing, I don't know if you can see this very well, but quickly, there are 7 sins, we call them. So the sin of a hidden trade-off. If you do this, you'll get that. A claim that's suggesting a product is green based on a narrow set of attributes without important environmental issues being taken care of. So the hidden trade-off. Irrelevance, the sin of no proof, just by slapping something that says green on it. Okay, I have this chapstick, I put green on it, must be green. How? I don't know, it says green. How? I don't know. Okay, no proof, right? This is actually just by happenstance, I didn't really mean to bring this specific one, but it is an organic chapstick, and it's organic by the USDA. Okay, and that's proof. The USDA is a federally run organization, so that's proof. So that's not greenwashing. Okay, if it just said organic and wasn't certified by anybody, that would be the sin of no proof. Sin of fibbing, again, telling me it's green but not really. Vagueness, lesser of two evils, and false labels. So if this said organic and certified by Moraine Valley students, none of us have a certification, but we put the label on there, right? So it must be, okay? So these are greenwashing. So as business students, you want to think about how you don't fall victim to that, okay? Because now you're convinced that whatever business you're putting forward must do good. So do your research, ask your questions, ask your peers and colleagues. Stay aware of new technologies that can help. And when in doubt, keep asking questions. So as a business owner, somebody's going to come to you and say, you should buy my product. Okay, buy my product to help your business. And you're going to ask, well, good. How is it green? Is it made of recycled content? Ask them to prove it. Make it concrete. You don't have to buy it until you know. A couple of examples of major sustainable corporations that are making it out there, doing good by doing good business. 7th Generation, Patagonia, The Body Shop, Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, Interface Carpets, Stonyfield Farms, Tom's Shoes. For every pair of shoes you buy, somebody who can't afford shoes gets a pair. Honest Tea, Microsoft, very keen on their social responsibility. Interface Carpets, a really cool story is that this guy was making carpet, and carpet is made from plastic type things like petroleum-based things, and usually a very toxic process. And then we put it in our house, and we roll around on it, or we put it in our buildings and we walk on it, and it's really not the healthiest thing in the world. But he just was making money, right? I'm a carpet business. How can I change the world? I'm just making carpet. And somebody had a book, and it was a book, I'm going to forget his name now. It was called Social Capital, Social Capitalism. The book was basically about how do you turn your business into a socially responsible business, and one that takes care of the planet and its people. And so somebody left this book on his desk. He grabbed it as something to read on the plane. By the time he came back, he was so convinced that what he was doing as a carpet company was wrong, but he still wanted to make carpet. He completely turned the place upside down, started making this carpet now that comes in tiles, so it's squares. So if you spill something on the carpet, you don't have to rip up the whole carpet, okay, and replace it. You just have to rip up those squares, and then you can send that carpet back to Interface. They'll recycle it into new carpet. It's made now with fibers that are not nearly as toxic. The people are still getting paid fair living wages in the Interface floor company. The company is still turning a profit. You and I aren't getting sick by putting the sick carpet in our homes. And we're also, if we are carpeting our own businesses, saving money by only replacing tiles when you or I, and certainly me, spill my spaghetti on the carpet, right? So that's an example of a sustainable business where this guy flipped it around, changed his ways, and said, here's a way I can do less impact on the environment, I can still increase my bottom line, and I can help people along the way. So pretty cool. 7th generation, I'll come back to in a minute. 10 simple steps, and I call these super simple. These are things that you can involve as practice as you are learning more and more, because these are surface. These are almost more back to that Go Green checklist. But I wanted to give you something so that you feel like you've got something to go with, okay? So in your business practice, how paperless can you be? Keep a running count of pages that you have to print off. In your classroom, you guys can be change agents right now. Is this thing on? You can be change agents right now. You can, the next time your professor says, I want that paper printed, suggest to them that maybe they just need it emailed. The next time they hand out a bunch of handouts, perhaps it can just be put on Blackboard, right? You can access it there. Saves you money. How much does it cost to print in the library, right? So especially if you're going somewhere else and you're not double-siding printing. So be change agents, you can do that now. But in your business, computers standby and sleep, hibernate settings, unplug things when they're not in use. They're still drawing power when they're plugged in. So unplug. Eliminate all disposable dishes, cups, and utensils. So you've got a small business, you've got a little kitchen. Don't stock it full of styrofoam. Ask your folks to bring their own mug. Lower the thermostat. Make sure that you're looking at your energy use. Banning plastic water, of course, we just talked about that. Getting people reusable water bottles. If you noticed around campus, that's been one of our efforts. We have the refilling stations for you. You can incentivize employees to take public transit. You can switch to energy efficient lighting. Again, like I said, this is more of that checklist, but it's still empowering you to think beyond just operating the business, get in there and start it up, right? And then use green, toxic-free cleaning products as well as furnishings like the carpets and stuff like that. So what else? Those sounded like a lot of environmental issues. Can you think of any social or economic things that you could put into business practice based on those? Yeah.
Technically, some of those were kind of social and economic. Like if you lower your thermostat in the winter and raise it in the summer, then that means you're saving money because you're not having to go and, pay for heating and stuff.
Very good.
Disposable dishes, cups, and utensils. When I go into my workplace's workroom, we have a water cooler, and we keep having to use all these cups. And all I can think is literally right down the hallway, there is a water fountain. There is no, and we keep running out of cups, and people complain how am I going to get water now? And it's really? I don't even know why we have a cooler or why we're using plastic cups. You could throw those out and save money.
Yeah. So you could put a little sign up above the cooler that says "Bring your own cup, water fountain" that way. You're right. I also think that incentivizing people to take public transit and carpooling and/or walk is a social benefit as well, right?
Lower obesity. Also, they're more likely to be on time. I mean, if you're like having to like take a bus and you miss the bus, then like you have to walk. So you're probably going to go and get that bus as soon as possible.
That's a good point. Yes. A very good point. You're going to be more incentivized to get on time, right? Very good. Yes.
Social issues like discrimination, racism, homophobia, and also hunger all over the world. So we should try to reduce these things, these issues, social issues. I mean.
Yes. So addressing discrimination and social issues in your workplace or wherever. Yes, I totally agree.
Having your company do food drives for the community that you work within.
Very good. Yes. I would also advocate that as a business leader, right? As a business leader, you're a respected member of the community, so you can also be part of the community advocacy that addresses why are there people hungry in your community, right? So feed them, but also address the issue, right? Good. Good.
Having profits go to like organizations, so just any like across seas, things like that, that will help it. So like even if it's like just 0.5%, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. There are some companies that say once we meet this much profit, anything above and over, not just 5%, anything above and over goes back into the community, right? Pretty cool. Any others right now? You guys are good. You're on it. I love it. Very good. So a couple of resources for you. There's the Green Market Oracle. They, they have some really good guides and some simple tips and things like that. Their focus is still a little bit more on capitalism versus like a shared economy. So I'm not, I like them for some resources, but not all. The Illinois Green Business Association, something local for us. You as a business owner could become certified as a green business through them, something that is not greenwashing. There's a whole list and somebody comes in and audits and makes sure that you're doing everything right and you can get certified. Social venture capital funds. You guys are gonna need some funding for your business, right? Most of us in here not millionaires ready to go already, right? Okay. So when looking for funding, the social venture capital funds, these are capital funds. These are people with lots of money who want to help other entrepreneurs start businesses like theirs that is a socially responsible business, a business that is taking care of its people, and in doing so, most certainly taking care of its planet, and then making sure it meets its bottom line. So social venture capital funds. ASHE is short for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. And what they do is work with people like me and a lot of different higher education organizations to identify what schools have different sustainability related degrees. So if you're sitting here thinking, wow, this social justice, this sustainability, this environmental justice, this whole thing is really resonating with me and I want to learn more, ASHE has a whole list of different schools that have MBA in sustainability or MBAs in corporate social responsibility or other business type degrees that, maybe you're into public administration, maybe you're into whatever. So different resources. The Carbon Trust is an organization that's looking at carbon emissions for climate change and how are we as businesses emitting carbons. They're looking at those industry intensive places mostly, but they also have a really great resource for small businesses on how small businesses can start to implement some of these more strategic sustainability initiatives. And then a final how to learn more would be your Moraine Valley Community College Sustainability Center, Center for Sustainability. I brought a bunch of things that were currently hanging on my wall. They're little They're booklets. So when I find a report that I think is really great, I print it out, I put it on my wall so that you can come and find it, and then I'll give you the link so you can learn about it again. And I've got like 10 different green jobs reports. So where is green industry growing? Where is sustainable industry growing for not only Illinois, but also regionally, and then also statewide, or internationally, actually, Canada, and this continent. And then I've also got a couple of reports about what you can do as an individual. Why do I care about climate change? What other things are affecting it? Safe consumer products. So if you're worried about social issues like women's health and women's health type things, we've got stuff on feminine care products. And if you're worried about food deserts or you want to learn more about fair trade, what is this concept of fair trade? We've got a ton of different books and resources on that. And companies that are thriving in the fair trade business. So coffee, for example, is one. Newman's Own is another company. You guys might have heard of Newman's Own. They make salsa and spaghetti sauce and cookies and all these things. A huge advocate of social and environmental responsibility to meet their bottom line. So I said that I would mention seventh generation again. I don't know if you've ever seen Seventh Generation in the grocery store. It's a mostly cleaning product company. They started their company based on this Iroquois Law, the Great Law. In every action one takes, one must consider the effects on the next 7 generations, okay? Some people would look at that and say, why? I won't be alive, okay? But the Iroquois believed that, you lived on and on and on through those generations. Whatever you believe, clearly after learning about what is sustainability, how are these other businesses thriving, you can see why we should care, right? We want to lay the foundation for our kids, or if you don't have children, don't plan on having children, somebody's kids to look back and say, that guy, he did all right, okay? Famous and brilliant words. These words have been spit out by a bunch of different people and have been claimed by a bunch of different people. The furthest I could find was Wendell Berry, but some people said it was said by Chief Seattle. Regardless, they're great words to live by. We have not inherited the earth from our fathers. We are merely borrowing it from our children, right? We're only here for a limited amount of time. People before us, people after us. Let's consider that as we consider that meeting our needs today without compromising the needs of future generations. So just some things to kind of stick in your head there. You can obviously get involved. You are involved. You've been involved with the business club. We have a green club. The Go Green Club would love to partner on things. You want to do a fair trade fair? Let's do it. Like us on Facebook. And then as always, you can contact me. So when I say that the Center for Sustainability is your resource, it most certainly is your resource. It is available to you. I think people can attest that if the door is open, you are welcome in. I may shoo you out quickly, but no, I will invite you in. It's in L242, which is in the library. We're also online at /sustainability. You can email me, you can use my extension. It's not just me, there's a lot of other people on this campus that I can help point you to who are advocates and stewards.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
There's 2 questions in one. So what do you see the future of sustainability like 5 years or 10 years from now? And do you think we will have like a sustainability class once to educate people about sustainability in general or no?
Fingers crossed. So sustainability 2 to 5 years from now, I think we still have a lot of work to do. But we are actually in the works of trying to create a sustainability introduction course. We have, however, for the last 7 years, been infusing sustainability into existing curricula. So some of our amazing faculty have already been through this program where they are trying to take what they're already teaching and use the concepts of sustainability to teach it. So you need to still learn Math 101 or whatever it is, but using the concepts of sustainability, how can we get you to understand math? So we've been working on that for several years. It's a pretty successful program. So if you haven't already experienced this, I'm sure that you have at some point though, a comm teacher or a history teacher might ask you to do some research or report on a sustainability related topic. So if you're into social justice issues or you're into clean water and you're trying to figure out how do we do this balance of all these three systems, come talk to me. Answer your question?
Thank you.
My question is how we can tell the difference of products in shops. We are normal people. We are buy a lot of things. How we can tell the difference from these products are green products or from those company or products who are aimed that they are green?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's so hard to be a consumer today when you have your head full of all this information, right? Where you're like, I want to do right. I don't want to expose my family to toxins. I want to also save money when I'm buying. I can't afford to buy organic this and that. So there are some websites that are really helpful to help, give you little pocket guides. The Environmental Working Group, ewg.org, is a really great resource. But when you're looking at labels, so say for example cleaning products, if it's a cleaning product that has a industry recognized green seal, so like if you went to 7th Generation and looked at their labels, maybe you can't afford 7th Generation. It is a little bit more expensive. So look for their labels and see where you can find that label elsewhere. Okay, so basically, I guess my first recommendation would be to be a label reader. Okay, if you're looking at the label and you don't know what these things are, you might want to think twice. A lot of times they're scientific terms and they're totally fine, but if there's a lot of them and you think some of them might be not so good, go look it up first, right? So become a label reader. Look for things that aren't just hiding information. So when, if you're thinking about food, right, you go to the cracker aisle, okay? 5 years ago, crackers were crackers. They were Ritz, they were saltines, they were whatever. Now, saltines, all natural. Nothing changed in the ingredients. It just now has that natural. That means nothing, okay? Look at the ingredients. Is it flour, salt, yeast, things that belong in crackers? Or is it 5-phenyl stuff you can't say, Look for labels, read them, start to understand them. When you're talking about clothing, that's a really tricky thing because it's really hard to follow the line of manufacturing for clothing. So you want to look for things that are fair trade, that are sweatshop free. You want to do some research online about the top 10 companies that are good on their clothing and find the ones that are in your price point. Patagonia, an amazing, amazing company doing great sustainable things. Their clothing lasts forever, but you have to be able to put $200-300 up front for it to last forever. Some of us have that, some of us don't. So it's really about label reading, becoming more and more aware. Yeah.
You mentioned the MBA and sustainability. So what's the future careers for the MBA students?
Well, I have reports behind me. I don't want to duck down yet. The future for people with sustainability-related degrees is great. As you noticed, more and more companies are saying it's a part of their strategic plan. They are increasing sustainability commitments year after year. So they need people who understand that, okay? Some people come in and they understand the environment. Save the planet, right? But they don't understand this economic balance. And they don't understand that there are different kinds of economies even, right? So there are transactional economies. Here's some money. Give me that thing. And there are relational economies. Some things like in some cultures, money doesn't exist, right? It's I have 2 goats and you have a box of rice. Trade, okay? Or it's I'm a massage therapist and you can mow lawns. Cool. So, so in the MBA, the sustainable MBA, you're going to start to really understand those types of things. And these companies need to remain competitive. And by competitive, you have to be innovative. And you need people who can think in systems, not silos. And this is systems thinking. You can't solve our world's problems. You can't be an innovative, competitive business without a systems thinking. So it's great. Those MBAs are, they're still going to give you the foundation of business. So even if tomorrow everybody wakes up and they're like, sustainability, psh, you're still going to have business. I sincerely doubt they're going to, you know. Yeah.
Any more questions?
So being a Moraine Valley student, what can I do to help support the sustainability effort here on campus?
Give me a hug. Group hug? No. I just love that question. Thank you so much. You know, I think that it's, like I said before, you can be a change agent. You can start asking for these things. If this really matters to you, if this resonates to you, you know, what is it that is missing from your experience as a student when it comes to sustainability? Do you have access to things that you think that you need, like water, right? Water costs money if you go to Pepsi, the Pepsi machine. But we've provided drinking things, sanitary. You can walk up and fill up your bottle. So that's something we've done, right? Thinking about sustainability and helping our students. What are other things that you're thinking could be of benefit to you and the college and the community? And as those things come into your head, you bring them to the center, you bring them to your faculty, you bring them to the dean or whoever you know, your club. How can your club be an advocate, help the movement move forward? Very simply, again, going back to that checklist of I'm green today, recycle, right? Make sure that you're paying attention to where you're putting your waste. Because when I take my water bottle, my plastic water bottle, or figuratively, because I don't have one, and I put it in the landfill bin, it goes to the landfill forever. There isn't somebody standing there plucking it out and saying, oh, that should have gone to recycling. It's a petroleum-based product, gas, oil. We are mining this stuff in dangerous, situations. Why is it dangerous? It's a whole other, social issue that we could unpack. But when we put it in the recycling bin, we're at least getting a little bit more life out of it. We're at least, respecting it in a little bit of a deeper way. So at the very least, recycle. Paper, recycle. Aluminum can. An aluminum can be recycled infinitely. You can make an aluminum can out of an aluminum can out of an aluminum can. I'm going to have to say it slower. Over and over and over again. Infinitely. Yet we still dig giant holes in the ground to get this stuff out of it to put soda in it. Okay, because we can't get it in the blue bin. So at the very least that, what other things can you be doing? You can be advocating for it, you can be carpooling, using the bus, riding your bike, thinking of really fun things to get others engaged in. Honestly, coming to me with your ideas and helping me help you move them forward would be great as well. I hope that answers your question. It's a lot. A little bit. A little lot of it.
I was going to ask if there's something, because these people aren't really, I don't think they're responsible if they do that. They say they're natural, but then they do excessive packaging. Is there anything we can do about that? I mean, just like Walmart, Costco, things like that. I think Sam's Club is also associated with Walmart. I mean, we all know that. So I'm just saying, but the excessive packaging, I don't think that's environmental. They could be organic, but they're not environmentally safe with excessive packaging.
Sure. You're talking about greenwashing. You've just nailed greenwashing on the head, right? Where they say they're organic, and it very might well be an organic product, yet it's a piece of gum in a package this big. Like, why did they need to do that, right? They're not really thinking about the resources that they're using and the impact on that. So that's a great point. It reminds me of one of our librarians last week did a whole blog series all week long about carrying her trash around and looking at like how much trash did she generate and where did it come from and could it be recycled. And a lot of things she wasn't sure about. So right now she's in this really long conversation with Solo, Solo Cup, right? They make individual disposable things. Some of them are plastic #1, which is one of the most highly retrievable plastics, but some are styrofoam. So she's in this conversation with them, why do you keep using styrofoam? And they're trying to tell her, well, actually it is recyclable. So she just got a call back today and she's telling me about it. She says, Solo called me and they said that our styrofoam is recyclable. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, I have to drive it an hour and a half from here to some company that's gonna take it. But that's only right here, right? So who in Kansas City is doing it? And who in, and so that was their answer. So see, we're sustainable, we recycle. That's greenwashing, right? So what can you do about it? You can act like this librarian. You can pick up the phone and start asking questions. You can write letters. When a poll or a petition comes across your email or your Facebook or your whatever, take a look at it and actually click it. It does make a difference to hear those voices. Keep asking for the better option, and eventually, like Nike, we'll get it.
I have a question that I've learned in marketing that we have the supply chain manager. So the supply chain manager do the job to maximize the strength and efficiency in business. So how can he apply the sustainability in balancing the demand and supply? Because supply depending on demand, and most people, they desire things that are not very healthy for environment. So how can we still have the sustainability but remain the cost in their business?
Sure. You guys have heard of Walmart? Okay. So they have supply chain managers, and they've been getting a lot of heat, right? They're still deserving of a lot of heat, but they've been getting a lot of heat about their supply chain. And so we can still go to Walmart and get things fairly cheap, right? But a lot of those products, if you follow the supply chain now, are becoming more and more sustainable. How did they do it? Walmart is gigantic, so they can go to their supply, whatever, say they're getting cotton, okay? They can go to the cotton grower and say, we're no longer gonna buy from you if you don't now grow organic cotton, okay? So by pushing the demand from the consumer is one way to do that. So Walmart's been able to do that. And by doing that, they've been able to drive the cost down for others to get at it. Is that the best system? Not necessarily. So we should be doing that while simultaneously addressing this other issue of why do we need cheap stuff? Okay, why are we forced to buy cheap stuff? What's wrong with the economy systems over here? But yes, supply chain managers have an amazing role when it comes to the efficiencies of your business and the control of supplies. So do distribution and logistics managers. Those people will help you figure out, like, say you need to ship things. You've got maybe you're in the flower business and you're shipping flowers around. Somebody can help you really efficiently do that. Make sure you're maximizing your delivery the right way. UPS just did that a couple years ago, cutting their carbon emissions by like 30 or 35% just by smart mapping the way that their drivers were driving. Instead of sending 50 drivers out all willy-nilly, go, we've got these packages delivered. They decided strategically you're going to go here, here, and here, and here's where you're going to hand off, and here, so very smart stuff. Good question.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Great.
I'm just curious.
Except for the broken foot.
What kind of employment is available to those interested in majoring in sustainability?
What other employment? Well, all right. So I brought this book, or this package, okay? So I've got local food, farms, and jobs growing the green Illinois economy. I've got Illinois Green Jobs Survey, okay? So I'm just gonna flip it open and see what I see. Occupations with largest number of green jobs. Heating and air conditioning, obviously. We've got stock clerks and order filers. We've got lots of different things. A lot of these are going to point to the trades, but if you really want to be an accountant, okay? Somebody in here really wants to be an accountant, and they think, but how can I make that a green job? You go work for Patagonia, right? You go work for whatever local green company is around here and make it a sustainable job. So whatever it is you're studying can be a sustainable job. It just needs to be working for the right company or making your own. You know, you can't find one, make your own. Like Tom's shoes. They were like, oh, this stinks that people are walking around without shoes. We could make some shoes relatively inexpensively with really good products and donate a pair of shoes to somebody in need, as well as I think it's 5% of their profit to other organizations, right? So those are some examples. And then we've got, which one is the, oh, the thing came off. This one is a lot about solar and things of that nature, different kinds of energy. I, on the side, help people personally, like a personal consultant. People want to learn about how to live a lower impact lifestyle. So I help them with menu planning and purchasing goods, and you know, I help them shop and stuff like that. But not everybody can do that. But you remember I talked about the different kinds of economies where somebody might be a masseuse and somebody might mow lawns. I do this for my friends who can also do things that I can't do, like the accounting, the taxes. I'm not doing that. I'll happily go shopping with you if you can do my taxes. Great, right? Other green industries emerging. So basically I've got these reports up here which I welcome you to come look at. I also welcome you to come to the center because this is just a handful of them. So I hope I've answered your question a little bit, sir.
Actually, I would like to add something else. I mean, with moving with sustainability and the word, there is a lot of people, like a lot of big companies, they're hiring as a sustainability managers. Like for me as experience, I used to work with oil companies, and then I used to deal a lot with the HSE managers, which is like they care about, which is health, safety, and environment. So you shouldn't, like you should never ever worried about finding a job as a sustainability person because there is a lot of jobs open, and there will be a lot of job opening, like open in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, I like to troll the job sites. You can go to Indeed or Idealist or Monster, whatever, So I get emails that send me job postings with the term sustainability in it on a daily basis. And I like to look and see where the trends are so that I can communicate it here as well. Hyatt Hotels downtown. They're headquartered downtown. They're hiring a sustainability analyst. I think they have a team of like 30 people in their sustainability team just here. And then globally, there are people moving their sustainability initiatives forward. That's the hotel industry. You've got green jobs in construction. You've got people in consulting. You've got different, like just building operators. Real estate. Real estate is booming in sustainability. There's this whole green homes movement. People are starting to get energy audits of their home, okay? So my home is 30% more efficient than my neighbor's home. I'm selling mine for $50,000 more than my neighbor. The person buying my home is smart because if mine is 30% more efficient already, the payback on that 50 grand, the ROI, return on investment, pretty quick, right? So real estate is looking at this. Education, higher education. We're all over the place and we're growing like gremlins, just add water. Yeah, so you're right.
Any more questions?
I have to say you guys have been an amazing audience. Thank you so much.
So on behalf of the Business Club, I would like to thank Stephenie again, and let's give her another hand.